If you didn't think Donald Trump thinks he's being wounded by his relationship with the disgraced pedophile Jeffrey Epstein and handling by his administration of disclosures concerning it, look no further than the fact that he has sent the number 2 member of the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, his former lead criminal defense lawyer, to go meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. Ghislaine Maxwell is a co-conspirator who, by the Department of Justice's own submission to the Supreme Court, worked with Epstein to prey on and ultimately rape girls. And that's the person that Donald Trump is going to send the highest levels of the Department of Justice leadership to go into her prison, because she's serving a 20-year sentence, to go into her prison and speak to her about what she may or may not know about Epstein. Look, we know where this is going. That is a meeting that should never be had. The only one happy about it are the new lawyers for Ghislaine Maxwell, who are trying to lobby Donald Trump for a pardon. And Donald Trump, to try to cover up the cover-up, is using Todd Blanche to do it. I'm Michael Popok. We're calling it out right here on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button. It is oh so important today that we have your support, and we know that you're with us. Let's catch up here. The House floor is effectively on fire. There is no unanimity about the Epstein cover-up by the Trump administration. There are a number of Republicans who don't claim to be MAGA who are not happy with how Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, is handling it on the House floor in his constant vacillating and placating of Donald Trump. And they're not happy with the Trump administration and up to Donald Trump about the lack of transparency about the Epstein affair. Now, polling is a different story. Most of MAGA doesn't care about the Epstein scandal. They've already calculated and they have already voted for Donald Trump, understanding that he has his misogyny, his sexual abuse, his attacks on women and those around him like Jeffrey Epstein. They've sort of baked that in to their decision-making already. So it's not moving the needle with them, but it is moving the needle with the moderates, the liberals, the independents in this country, and just fair-minded people who believe that we should not be in favor of people at the highest levels covering up a pedophile ring. I never thought, though, I'd have to form that sentence, but I just did. And so while the House struggles and press conferences and we're not going to vote before the August recess about the release of the Epstein files, we're going to give the space to the Trump administration to do the right thing. Apparently the right thing for Donald Trump is to send his number 2 Department of Justice head, Todd Blanche, into a federal detention center to go meet with Ghislaine Maxwell. The evidence was legion. There was a mountain of evidence in the courtroom, in front of a jury, in front of a judge, Judge Nathan, in front of a 9-person jury, federal court, Southern District of New York, who convicted her. It wasn't just speculation and surmise. It was evidence. It may have been circumstantial, but it was enough for the prosecutors to carry their weight of beyond a reasonable doubt conviction. The only appeal issue is not whether Judge Nathan made a mistake in the Maxwell trial, or the jury got it wrong, or some fact came in that shouldn't have, or some evidence that came in that was barred. The only issue that David Oscar Marcus, who's the lawyer down in Miami that's representing Maxwell, the only issue is whether a unholy non-prosecution agreement that was entered into by Epstein and Alex Acosta, who later became Donald Trump's labor secretary, but he was then the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Florida, sitting in Miami, whether that agreement not to prosecute Epstein and only prosecute him on a 1-count state count, not federal, not for human trafficking, not for sex trafficking, but for soliciting prostitution from a minor, whether she gets the benefit of that agreement because it said that they won't go after him or his co-conspirators in the Southern District of Florida. It wasn't written by Maine Justice, Department of Justice, and didn't stop prosecution in New York under because there's no agreement, and there's no argument that Ghislaine Maxwell signed any agreement. She's not a party to that agreement, and she doesn't get the benefit of it. How do I know that? Because Donald Trump's other criminal defense lawyer, now the Solicitor General, John Sauer, just wrote that in a brief to the United States Supreme Court, outlining all of the horrible details of sexual abuse and rape of girls perpetrated by Epstein and Maxwell. That's the Trump administration. Now the Trump administration is saying, well, we're going to send Todd Blanche in to go talk to Maxwell. That's not what the American people want. She's already been convicted and serving her 20 years. The American people want is the full release of the file. And if there's nothing to hide, then release the file. And we're not talking about the subset of information. We're not talking about the grand jury testimony, which, just to be clear from a legal perspective, is when people testified in front of the grand jury in secret before the indictment of Maxwell, maybe Epstein, when they were working on it. There were witnesses that were brought in. There was testimony that was adduced. They weren't cross-examined by the defense, but they were put on by the prosecution in front of the grand jury. There was also evidence that was presented to the grand jury. So when I talk about, let's define this properly, instead of allowing the Trump administration to redefine every time they speak what is the Epstein files, making it smaller and smaller and less credible every time. The Epstein files for the Americans, for the people that care, is the entirety of the search warrant, any evidence that was obtained during the search warrant execution in Palm Beach against Epstein, in New York against Epstein. Same thing, execution against Maxwell, where she was living, and she was like living on the road. She was moving around, rented house after rented house, but they finally caught her. Whatever storage units, whatever computers, laptops, I want it all. If there's surveillance video or audio, we want that. Sure, the grand jury testimony is interesting, but give me the documents. What's in the box? Where, for instance, I'll give you an example. Where did the birthday card scrapbook from 2003 with that the Wall Street Journal reported on with the pasted in handmade Donald Trump card, where did that come from? What box was that in? Where's the inventory list? Show us the inventory list of everything that's been taken into custody by the federal government. And if it's missing, explain why it's missing. That's the Epstein files. Instead, you hear Carolyn Levitt say things like, the press secretary, well, anything that's credible. Who's making the determination on credible? Yeah, that's not what the American people are demanding. And then to distract attention from it, they're sending in Todd Blanche to go talk to her as if she's going to suggesting that she's going to exonerate Donald Trump. You know, there's a lot of people that think that she is, according to Dershowitz, Alan Dershowitz, the former Harvard professor who was accused of sex crimes by Virginia Giuffre, who committed suicide in April in a documentary. There's a lot of people that think and have called Ghislaine Maxwell the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything about Epstein. She knows about the client list. She knows about the booking, the travel. She knows about who was connected and who wasn't. He's pretty cocky. Yeah. So you know what's going to happen. Blanche is going to go. He's not going to take notes. He's not going to reveal what happened. Or he's going to spoon feed the American people. I met with Ghislaine Maxwell. She assured me there's nothing in there about Donald Trump. She's also trying to lobby for a pardon. She'll say anything in order to get that pardon. David Oscar Marcus just told CNN and confirmed that they are in discussions with the Trump administration. So you have what? Todd Blanche now vetting her, declaring miraculously that everything's been sanitized and whitewashed and there's no Donald Trump reference in there. And then she gets, lo and behold, no quid pro quo. She gets a pardon. Come on. We can call it out right now. I'll do the hot take on it right now. I'm going to continue to report on it. You're here on Legal AF. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us continue to grow here. Not just grow. Protect us. If you like this content and you want to see us on the air, Now's the time to continue to hit the subscribe button. It's all free. There's no paywall. Come over to Legal AF, the Substack, do the same thing. Legal AF, the podcast. Yes, we need your help there. And I got my new podcast, The Intersection, on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Midas Touch Network. So until my next report of all things Legal AF, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.